Please don't be a nuisance to me. I mean, you rely on others too much, right? Try to handle things on your own a bit, will you? Callie spoke these thoughtless words to Bianca, who is physically challenged. Unaware of the struggles Bianca faces. I'll never forgive this. If you dare speak ill of Bianca again, be prepared. I'm Mila. 27 years old. Living with my parents. I work and could live alone. Considering my age, few of us are likely to live at home. But I stay home for a reason. That reason is my sister, Bianca. Bianca was born with nerve issues, making it hard for her to move. She needs care, especially since our father passed away. And it's too much for our mom to handle alone. It's not easy assisting someone's daily life. And mom isn't young anymore. So, I take the lead in caring for Bianca. Are you okay, Bianca? Does your body hurt? No, I'm fine. Thank you. Bianca, despite her pain, always worries about me. She tries to do everything she can and used to apologize all the time when I started caring for her. Seeing her like that made my heart ache. Bianca, please don't apologize. But, after asking her several times, she reluctantly agreed. She feels sorry, but I don't mind at all. Mom opposed me taking care of her. Worried about my age, job, and marriage prospects. But I care more about Bianca. And want to stay by her side. Each time Mom brought it up, I'd rebel. I want to be with Bianca. Reflecting on it now, I was quite childish. Mom understood and stopped objecting. She takes care of Bianca while I'm at work. I'm grateful for her concern. But being there for Bianca means the most to me. After Bianca sleeps, Mom and I share our day's events. Mom seems happy. It reminds me that we rarely had these talks during my teenage years, and I wonder if she enjoys our conversations. Then, one day, while caring for Bianca, she mentioned something. Callie's birthday is coming up soon. Ah, Callie. I was confused. Callie is my younger sister. I'm the middle of 3 sisters. After graduating high school, Callie left home and never returned. She doesn't answer calls or emails. And it's unclear if she even reads them. Callie always disliked Bianca for her disability. Bianca, you're gross. Stay away from me, she would say, causing trouble for Mom and Bianca. As a child, she found Bianca's differences suspicious. When Mom scolded her, "Hey, you can't say that," Callie would behave for a while but soon start harassing Bianca again. Hiding her pencil case, using foul language. Mom and I were exasperated with Callie. As she grew into a teenager, her attitude towards Bianca worsened. She started staying out late. And it wasn't unusual for her not to come home. No matter how much we cautioned her. "Shut up! Don't interfere!" She'd yell and storm out. Eventually, Mom gave up. Just let her be. And on the day Callie left home after high school, she said this to Bianca. "Please, don't trouble me. I mean, you're too dependent on others, right? Try to do something on your own for a change." Callie, oblivious to Bianca's situation, uttered these words. Bianca, despite her limitations, strived to be independent. She browsed job listings with her immobile body, determined to work. Ultimately, she couldn't find employment and remained home, but she never stopped trying to increase what she could do by herself. I couldn't forgive Callie for her heartless remarks. "Really, Callie?" As I was about to lash out, Bianca stopped me. "Maybe that's how Callie sees it. Sorry for being such a burden," she said. Looking at Callie, Her face a mix of irritation and smugness. She left home. And we lost touch. I heard from relatives that Callie got married right after high school, likely spending time at her boyfriend's place even when she was away from our home. Initially, I tried reaching out. But she never responded. So, I tried to live without thinking about Callie. Bianca, are you going to contact Callie again this year? Yeah, I think I'll try. Despite the hurtful words, Bianca still sent birthday messages to Callie, knowing she wouldn't reply. Bianca said she wanted to at least wish Callie a happy birthday, since she couldn't do much for her. I'd tell her she's kind, but she always denied it. Just normal, she'd say, shyly smiling. Months later, Mom and I looked down at Bianca. She lay peacefully in her hospital bed. Her condition worsened after Callie's birthday. And she passed away. It was heartbreaking to see Bianca, who could no longer speak, and I cried daily. There was no reply from Callie. Even when I informed her of Bianca's death, there was no response. Though Callie resented Bianca, she was still family. I hoped for even a single word, but it seemed I expected too much. I sent the funeral details, but Callie didn't reply or attend. Mom, either resigned or forgetful, never mentioned Callie again. After the funeral, Mom and I cleared out Bianca's room. In the closet, I found an album I never knew Bianca had. It contained photos of Bianca, Mom, and me on outings, and pictures from my childhood. Did Mom know about these photos? When asked, she revealed Bianca had secretly collected photos of me, finding strength in my smile. Hearing this, I burst into tears, sobbing like a child, comforted by Mom. Then, I felt something warm on my head. Looking up, I saw Mom crying too, holding my hand. Bianca was that loved. A year has passed since Bianca's departure. Since then, my heart has felt empty, filled with a sense of loss. My days are spent in a job I don't enjoy. While Mom and I remain close, it's not enough to fill the void Bianca left. I wonder what will become of me. I realized I was thinking about such things. But then, one day, I got a call on my mobile phone from an unknown number. Who could it be? After a few rings, I answered, and the person on the other end was unexpected. Hello, this is Sterling, Callie's husband. Excuse me? You're Callie's husband? That was Callie's husband. Sterling, my brother-in-law. The mystery deepened. What could Sterling possibly want with me? In response to my question, yes, he said. His tone sounded somewhat angry. Do you need something? As I waited for his next words, Sterling said something even more surprising. Please pick up your sister with disabilities. We've been looking after her for 6 months now. An impossible situation had arisen. Bianca was with Sterling. I was so taken aback, I fell silent. Thinking I was upset, Sterling pressed on. Why are you silent? Don't you care about your sister? What kind of human are you? They have been even more driven. His words bewildered me, but I spoke about Bianca. Bianca passed away a year ago. But Sterling, perhaps in his excitement, wasn't listening. Tired of caring and just dumping her on someone else? Your sister looked so sad, like she's been abandoned. This conversation was going nowhere. I interrupted Sterling to repeat about Bianca. Bianca died a year ago. After a brief silence, Sterling spoke. Is that true? It seemed my words finally reached him. I calmly explained to a now composed Sterling that Bianca had died a year ago, and that it was Callie, not me, who had disliked Bianca. I also mentioned that we had informed Callie when Bianca passed away. Shocked, Sterling seemed at a loss for words. Then, with a trembling voice, he said, "Then who is the woman in our house?" "Excuse me?" I listened to Sterling's story. Apparently, 6 months ago, Callie brought home a woman in a wheelchair, claiming she was her sister. Initially, they tried contacting us repeatedly, but nobody will listen, it's pointless, Callie had said, refusing to acknowledge us. Despite claiming the woman was Bianca, Callie didn't care for her at all. After returning from work, all the care fell on Sterling. Despite hearing the entire story, I couldn't grasp the situation. And it seemed Sterling himself felt the same. "Would you mind coming to our house? Maybe it's better to talk in person." Indeed, meeting and talking in person would be quicker than over the phone. I agreed to Sterling's suggestion and decided to visit his apartment with Mom next weekend. When I told Mom about the call from Sterling and the story about Bianca, she was very surprised. She was also quite scared that Bianca, who was supposed to be gone, might be there. Finally, the day arrived. Bracing ourselves, we left the house and headed to Sterling's apartment, nervous. "Is this the place?" I muttered, and Mom beside me nodded. She seemed quite tense as well. We approached the designated room and rang the bell. Then, from inside the room, we heard 2 sets of footsteps stop abruptly. The door opened, and a fresh-faced young man appeared. "Mother-in-law, sister-in-law, thank you for coming all this way." Saying so, Sterling led us inside. We followed his lead and were about to enter the room. But we were interrupted by a certain person, making it difficult to enter smoothly. "Hey, why are you here? I didn't call you, and you haven't even met Sterling, right? Just do as I say and leave quickly." Yet, Callie, claiming to be the sister, didn't care for the woman at all. She physically blocked us, creating a wall to prevent us from entering the living room, but we managed to get past it. Turning to Sterling's side, I saw a woman sitting in a wheelchair. Her eyes filled with fear, unsure of how to react. "Is this lady your sister?" Sterling asked, pointing to her. The woman appeared to be around Bianca's age. Of course, neither Mom nor I knew her. "No, she's not. We don't know her," I responded. "I see," Sterling quietly said. He then turned back to the woman. Meanwhile, Callie was trembling and had collapsed on the floor. Ignoring Callie's state, Sterling asked the woman, "Who are you, exactly?" But the woman didn't respond. Something was going on. Maybe she was threatened by Callie into silence. I turned back to Callie. "Who is this woman? You brought her here, right?" I asked, but Callie remained silent as usual. "What? You didn't bring a stranger here, did you?" As I raised my voice in question, a soft voice came from behind. It seemed to be from the woman in the wheelchair. Looking at her again, she appeared remorseful and stayed quiet. After a deep breath, she slowly started to reveal her identity. "I am." "Don't say anything! Don't talk!" Callie desperately shouted, trying to prevent her from speaking. Hearing this, Mom was very angry. "You stay quiet!" and raised her voice. Surprised by her tone, Callie gave up on speaking. We turned back to the woman, encouraging her to continue. Slowly, despite being scared, she began to reveal the full story. "My name is Christina Redmaniel." "Redmaniel!" Sterling exclaimed loudly upon hearing her name. It was unfamiliar to us. "Sterling, do you know her?" "Do I know her? Could you be the daughter of Mr. Redmaniel?" Christina nodded. Hearing more from Sterling, it turned out that Christina was the daughter of Sterling's boss. Hearing this, both Mom and I were perplexed. Sterling, trying his best to explain, also seemed unsure of what was happening. What was Callie trying to do, bringing a complete stranger and claiming her to be Bianca? Beyond questions, I felt fear. It seemed the only way to get answers was to confront Callie directly. I stood up next to Callie, who still sat on the floor with a disgruntled expression, and demanded an explanation. What's going on? You started all this, right? Involving so many people is unthinkable. Explain everything. However, Callie just stood there, staring off into space, refusing to speak. Even when cornered like this, she seemed unwilling to reveal the truth. I knew Callie had issues, but I didn't expect her to be this stubborn. What should we do now? As I pondered, Christina spoke up. Callie's dating my brother. She said it straight, looking right at us, unlike her earlier frightened demeanor. Noticing Christina's boldness, Callie glared at her. And then, Callie tried to pounce on Christina. We managed to stop her and turned our attention back to Christina. Stammering at times, but earnestly, Christina shared her story. Callie tried to interrupt, but Mom's stern look silenced her. Christina revealed she had been living with a disability in her lower body since a childhood accident. Since then, her family had been overly cautious around her, making her feel uncomfortable. One day, after more than 10 years of this, Callie suddenly showed up. I'll take you in, she had said. Confused, Christina eventually felt less afraid, knowing Callie was her brother's partner. Perhaps Callie took Christina in to impress her boyfriend. Once at Callie's home, Callie did nothing for Christina, leaving everything to Sterling. When alone with Callie, the kindness shown at the time of taking her in vanished. You're in the way, Callie would say, often negating Christina's existence. The way she treated Christina was similar to how she had treated Bianca. A nuisance. Go away. Don't be dependent. It was too cruel, considering she had taken Christina in. Hearing this, I was shaking with anger. Such a person being my sister is too shameful. What do you mean, Callie? I asked. Callie retorted loudly. It's all Sterling's fault. He's always busy with work and doesn't pay attention to me. That's for the family's sake. How dare you talk so arrogantly when you don't even work? Sterling was clearly angry, hearing such childish excuses. If you are not working, it would be nice to have Sterling go to work for you. Watching Callie continue with her excuses, I was overwhelmed with anger like never before. Just as I was about to unleash my anger on Callie, Sterling spoke up. Do you realize how many people you're hurting, Callie? Your sister, mother, Christina, your late sister. As a human being, you're out of line. Callie stopped making excuses and was visibly shocked. Callie, usually faced with a calm Sterling. She tried to retort, but ultimately, she couldn't find the words against Sterling's anger. Sterling continued to explain how serious the situation was. But, Callie tried to make more excuses, but tears prevented her from speaking clearly. Seeing Callie acting like a victim infuriated me, and I spoke up again. Do you know how much Bianca worried about you, Callie? Callie turned towards me, tears in her eyes. I don't know any sister. I don't have a sister. Her words left me in shock. I never expected her to say something like that. I was at a loss for words, but before I knew it, this is what came out of my mouth. Do you know, Callie, that Bianca sent you an email every year on your birthday, despite the terrible things you said to her? She always thought of you. Then Callie hung her head down again. She must have known about the birthday emails, but chose to ignore them. I couldn't help but blurt out. Despicable, I said. Callie didn't expect such words from me. She remained silent, tears quietly streaming down her face. Afterward, Sterling and Callie got divorced. Sterling seemed very angry with his brother for neglecting Christina and discussed with his boss the affair and the treatment of Christina. Soon, rumors about the brother, some perhaps unfounded, began to spread in the company. He tried to endure at first, but eventually resigned. Callie, after the divorce, moved in with Christina's brother, but with him leaving his job, they had no source of income. They moved from their previous residence to a cheaper apartment and somehow managed to get by. After the divorce, Callie came to me, begging,
"Let me live at our parents' house."
Of course, I refused. Mom and I somehow managed to send her back. This time, unlike before, Callie sent many messages, but I ignored all of them. Eventually, the messages stopped. However, what really bothered me was why Christina stayed in that house without any resistance. Christina and I became friends after that incident. Out of curiosity, I asked her why she didn't try to escape, and her answer was surprising. It turned out that Christina had fallen in love with Sterling, who cared for her without expecting anything in return. She knew she would never be with him if she stayed. But going back home wasn't an option either, as she wouldn't be treated well there. Callie's words were hurtful, but being near Sterling made her happy. Now, amazingly, she and Sterling are married.
"What? Married?"
I exclaimed in surprise. I had not expected such a turn of events. Sterling, too, must have been drawn to Christina while caring for her. Now they live together in that apartment. Upon closer inspection, a ring shone on her left ring finger. Despite everything, had this incident not happened, Christina and I wouldn't have become close friends, nor would she have married Sterling. It was a complex process, but if everyone is happy now, that's what matters. I too need to find a marriage partner soon. With that thought, I sipped my coffee.
"Enough with this marriage. You've just been playing around with the $500 financial support I've been giving you."
Ryan storms in, yelling as soon as he gets home. Is she not only extorting money from me, but also spreading lies? As I hear Ryan's voice, anger starts to boil inside me too. I was also angry at Ryan too. It seems he has no intention of listening to my side of the story. Seeing Ryan come at me without hearing me out makes any affection I had for him disappear in an instant. Don't you want to hear my side of the story?
I have no intention of listening to your excuses. Go borrow the money you spent right now or choose divorce.
What? Then let's go with divorce, I said with a smile. Right after that, the front door opened. It seems like John has come back home. It's wrong to blame Mom.
What? Are you siding with her? She betrayed my trust. So, you're saying you guys betrayed my trust, then?
We're stunned by the figure appearing behind John. Thanks to him, I was able to get a divorce from Ryan without issue. And by stopping the financial support, they're going to see hell. I'm Amanda, a 37-year-old. Just a regular working mother with a part-time office job. I have a son, John, who is currently going through his rebellious phase. John has always loved studying, doing his homework, and reviewing without me needing to say anything. As he entered his rebellious phase, he started to ignore me. But he never speaks harshly or gets physically aggressive. Well, I guess that's expected of a high schooler. The real trouble is with my husband Ryan and my mother-in-law Emily. Ryan and I met in college, and after a strong pursuit from him, we started dating. We got married after I got pregnant with John right after graduating. What a shotgun marriage. How irresponsible. Emily had a lot to say about that. She adores Ryan and probably thought I tricked him into marriage with a deceitful tactic. I've been on the receiving end of her harassment. Sometimes, even targeting the unborn John.
What are you thinking?
Emily was scolded harshly by her husband George. George is strict yet kind, and he has helped us out numerous times. I have interactions with George, but I keep my distance from Emily. Honestly, I'd rather not deal with her at all. One day, I got a call from that unpleasant Emily.
Could you increase the financial support a bit?
We've been financially supporting Emily. There was a time when Ryan mentioned considering living together. I refused, citing the lack of apology for past harassment and John being in the middle of exam preparations. Ryan and Emily heavily criticized me for that.
As his wife, how could you refuse to live together? You're failing as a wife.
That's right. Always holding on to the past.
Hey, both of you. If we live together, I have to change my school for the exams.
John was the one who stopped that conversation. Emily adores John as the heir.
If I can't go to that high school, my dreams will be dashed. If you're going to stand in the way of that, I'll never forgive you.
With those words from John, Emily fell silent. Ryan, who loves his mom so dearly, also became quiet, watching John's expression on his face. Having George on our side probably helped a lot too.
If you don't take care of your family, I might consider firing you.
George made it clear to Ryan. George runs a company where I work part-time, and Ryan is supposed to be the successor. The supposed to be is because Ryan is famously bad at his job. I hear about it even just working part-time there, and he's only there because of George's kindness. Ryan knows this, so he stopped bringing up living together. That's how we ended up providing financial support instead of moving in with them. Honestly, I don't think we should need to provide support at all.
Let me do at least this as a way to show filial piety.
Ryan pleaded with me to do it. Well, Ryan is a bit lazy, so I'm the one who takes the $500 from Ryan and sends it directly to Emily. I don't think you need financial support with George's earnings. You have enough.
For George's sake. Just send it without complaining, Amanda.
Emily hangs up after saying that. Ignoring her could lead to her going on a rampage. Until now, John and George have been there to help, but John is in his rebellious phase, and George is currently busy with a big project. It's unlikely they'll be able to help this time. After persistent calls from Emily demanding an increase, I decided to add about $300 from my part-time job earnings. Only $300, huh? Well, all right then. Thanks.
I've increased the amount, so please don't contact me anymore unless it's an emergency.
I made sure to emphasize this to the delighted Emily. I wish I could cut ties with Emily, but George has been too good to us. I decided to endure it at least until John becomes independent.
I'm home.
Welcome back. I have something to talk about. Then, I tried to talk to Ryan, who had just returned from work, about the increase in financial support. However, Ryan wouldn't even look at me. Irritated by his attitude, I still tried to bring up the important matter.
Enough already. I'm tired. I'm going to take a shower.
Ryan quickly heads to the shower room after saying that. I picked up the socks and tie Ryan scattered around and let out a sigh.
What's wrong? Wow.
Turning around at the sound, I see John looking at me a bit surprised. I was surprised because it had been a while since he spoke to me. Sorry. I didn't mean to startle you with that weird noise.
It's fine. Something happened?
A rare conversation with John. I was so happy that I ended up telling him everything. Maybe I was sad about being ignored by my child, more than I thought. On the other hand, John seemed to be pondering something after listening to me.
Could it be that Granny is? Hey, I'm done. Let's eat.
Just as John was about to say something, Ryan came out. John stopped speaking and went back to his room. There goes a chance for some parent-child time. With that thought, I served dinner to Ryan. Hey, can we talk while eating dinner?
Ugh, fish again.
Just as I was about to start the conversation, Ryan complained about the meal. Fish again? You were the one who said you wanted fish today. Besides,
that was this morning. Now I feel like eating meat. You're my wife, you should know these things. I'm not psychic. How would I know? You know I go shopping after work. You should have sent something before. Enough. You're failing as a wife.
Why do I have to be subjected to this? My irritation led to a rebuttal, and Ryan's complaints escalated into an argument, and we never got to talk about the financial support. At that moment, I didn't notice John was recording us with his mobile phone. With George being such a good person, why is Ryan like this? I mutter alone in the living room. Honestly, I felt like I was going to burst with stress if I didn't say it out loud. Emily aside, Ryan used to be considerate of my health and helped with the housework when we were younger. I thought that's why he'd be a good husband. But everything changed after John was born. He didn't help at all with John's upbringing, always saying Emily would do this or Emily would do that perfectly. Thoughts of divorce come and go in my mind. I sat alone, overwhelmed by thoughts of the future. Some time passed, and it was around when John started his summer vacation. During that time, Ryan completely ignored me. Just like John in his full-blown rebellious phase, it made me doubt if was really an adult. I've been asked to come to my parents' house for an important talk, so I'll be heading out. One day, Ryan was called to his in-laws' house. It was sudden, and since I had my part-time job and John had plans, Ryan went alone. Ryan looked unhappy but took a day off and left by himself.
Where are you going, John? To a friend's?
Sort of.
Okay, take care. Don't come back too late.
Then, John and I left the house separately. At work, I overheard conversations about how work is more efficient without Ryan around, and I couldn't help but give a wry smile. And when I got home, nobody was there yet. I was determined not to be complained at today, so I started making dinner when...
Hey! Amanda!
Ryan's voice came from the entrance, along with a noisy sound.
What's the matter, Ryan? Why so excited? You really had me fooled.
Ryan yelled at me, puzzled.
Huh?
I tilted my head, unable to comprehend what he said, and Ryan glared at me. I was utterly confused, but I guessed from Ryan's next words.
That's it. We're getting a divorce. You've just been playing around with the $500 financial support I've been giving you.
Ryan storms in, yelling as soon as he gets home. Is she not only extorting money from me, but also spreading lies? As I hear Ryan's voice, anger starts to boil inside me too. I was also angry at Ryan too. It seems he has no intention of listening to my side of the story. Seeing Ryan come at me without hearing me out makes any affection I had for him disappear in an instant. Don't you want to hear my side of the story?
I have no intention of listening to your excuses. Go borrow the money you spent right now or choose divorce.
Huh? Then let's go with divorce, I said with a smile. Right after that, the front door opened. It seems like John has come back home. It's wrong to blame Mom.
What? You're siding with her? She betrayed my trust. Then, it means you guys both have betrayed my trust.
We were astounded by the figure appearing behind John. What? George?
Dad, why are you here with John?
There stood George, his face filled with anger.
What's going on here? Well, you know. Answer me now.
As George demanded coldly, Ryan immediately became flustered. George glared at him, while John pulled out his mobile phone next to him. Then, the conversation we had just moments ago played from John's mobile phone.
Everything that just happened, and Dad's attitude towards Mom all this time. I've been recording it. Anyone can see Dad is in the wrong. What? Even if you decide Mom is wrong or if you dare to lay a hand on her, I won't mind getting arrested. You'll have to deal with me.
John, being an athlete, has a good physique. On the other hand, Ryan has recently been sporting a typical middle-aged man's belly. It was clear who would lose if it came to blows.
Defying your own father.
What do you mean by father? Being controlled by Granny, ignoring Mom's opinions, is that what a father does? Even when I ignored you guys, Mom faced me. What have you done as a father? Is exploiting Mom what a father does? Ryan was silenced by John's calm assertion. It's amazing how children grow up before you know it. Despite the situation, I couldn't help but feel happy that John stood up for me.
Ryan, I believe I've told you before what I'd do to someone who doesn't take care of his family, haven't I?
Ryan's face turned pale at George's words. Well, he deserves it. It was as if he was being told he would be fired. Mom, take this.
Is this a divorce application?
What was handed to me was a divorce application. Why did John have it? And to think, my son was so well prepared. Don't worry about me. With John's words, I quickly filled in my part and thrust it at Ryan. Ryan seemed surprised that I wrote my name without hesitation, staring at me.
Are you sure? Divorcing me will make things difficult for you. I'll manage. Being with you is harder. And I won't have to deal with Emily anymore.
But
just sign the divorce application now.
Ryan showed a slight resistance, but after being glared at by George, he sadly signed the divorce application. John, we're going to my parents' house. Get ready.
Got it.
Then, we packed our bags lightly and George drove us to my parents' house. Ryan attempted to follow us, but stopped when John and George glared at him. On the way, we stopped at the municipal office to submit the divorce application. I was truly grateful that John came back with George. Thanks to him, I was able to divorce Ryan smoothly. What about the financial support?
Of course, I'll stop it.
By stopping the financial support, they were going to face tough times. Then, we safely arrived at my parents' house. My parents were surprised by our sudden visit but welcomed us warmly. George left us there and went back home.
Hey, John. Why were you with George?
I asked John once we had settled down. I actually had a meeting with Grandpa today. It turned out that John's appointment today was with George. After hearing about the financial support from me, John had told George about it and Ryan's usual attitude. They had arranged to meet to discuss what to do next. And it was revealed that George had no idea about the financial support.
Now that I think about it, George wasn't there when we decided on it.
The discussion about financial support happened while George was away from his seat. The details were later decided over the phone with Emily. Emily's words, "I'll talk to George about it." And George agrees too. Had completely deceived me. Upon hearing the report from John, George was furious.
Emily should have enough money from me. What on earth is she spending it on?
So, George decided to investigate Emily's background. That's when Emily's spending habits came to light. It seems she had been shopping quite a bit with our financial support. Taking advantage of Emily's absence, when peeking into the storage room, countless high-brand bags and accessories were found. Moreover, it appears she had been generously funding a young, handsome man in the neighborhood. However, that handsome man never paid any attention to Emily. Even I wouldn't seriously consider a grandpa nearly 40 years my senior. The unrequited gifts were left unopened in the storage, so George collected them. Grandpa is divorcing Granny. He was furious, saying he never thought she could be so irresponsible.
I can imagine.
After deciding to divorce Emily and seeing Ryan's behavior on John's mobile phone, George was further enraged. He planned to come back with John to persuade me to divorce Ryan as well, after deciding to divorce himself. He had discussed with John about making me a full-time employee and ensuring Ryan paid for various things, when they stumbled upon me being blamed. And hearing me say I'll divorce, they saw it as a good opportunity to have the divorce papers signed.
So, that's why everything was so well prepared.
Yes, and this is from Grandpa. With that, John handed me a flyer with a property listed on it. The property was decently sized, located midway between the high school and the company. It was a bit away from the in-laws' house.
What does this mean?
As an apology, Grandpa wants to give us this property. I was surprised by his words. Indeed, from this home, both John and I would need to drive. But from the new property, we could continue our commutes as before. Grandpa said not to hesitate. He'd be grateful if we accepted it.
Well, then I'll have to thank him later.
Such a gesture from a company president, buying a house as an apology. I was grateful for George's generosity and decided to accept it gratefully. Soon after, Ryan was fired. Not only because of this incident, but it also came to light that he had been causing various problems despite being the boss's son. He had been pushing his minimal workload onto others, harassing young female employees, and bullying male employees. As discussions of his dismissal began, more and more testimonies emerged. Ryan was quickly fired. Emily, divorced by George and evicted, rolled into Ryan's life. With alimony and child support paid out, their savings were nearly gone, and with no job for Ryan, they were in dire straits. I saw Dad being scolded by my classmate while he was doing a part-time job.
Did that classmate say anything to you?
He did. Looks like your ex-dad came in. I told him to work him hard and not to hesitate to scold him if he's not useful. I see. A miserable existence, being scolded by one's own son's classmate. Already infamous for being useless and now struggling to find work due to his age. Coupled with Emily's unabated spending, they were spiraling into debt. A former neighbor mentioned that the police were called due to their daily quarrels, bringing them considerable shame, and they might leave their home soon, likely due to foreclosure. Meanwhile, I became a full-time employee. Though I come home later now, and the responsibility increased. Our lives had more comfort. There was no need for financial support, and after hearing about Ryan, John became interested in part-time work, now earning his own spending money, eliminating the need for strict budgeting. As long as we didn't indulge in wasteful spending like Emily, our future looked secure. George and I still meet.
If you haven't decided on your future after graduating college, would you consider joining my company as my successor?
Apparently, George had always wanted John as his successor. Employing Ryan was also meant to pique John's interest.
Of course, I'm not forcing you. Just consider our company if you haven't found something else you want to do by graduation.
George offered, and John listened seriously.
John, it's up to you.
I'll work off this debt. Thank you, Mom. Honestly, I still don't really know what I want to do in the future. John said, though he is aiming for the economics department at a certain university, so he seems to have some idea. After some time, I got a call from Ryan. He finally couldn't pay the mortgage and had sold the house. Hearing Ryan talk about abandoning Emily in desperation left me dumbfounded. There's no one left to torment you, so let's get back together. Even John would benefit from having a father.
What do you have left to offer now? What? You have no job, no money, no home. I don't have the affection for you that John once had. You discarded the only mother he had. What do you have left to offer now?
Faced with my question, Ryan fell silent. Ryan, who chose Emily over me and then discarded even her, disappointed me deeply. The Ryan I once loved seemed to be gone.
But if I return to your place, there's no place for you with us. Don't ever contact us again.
I ended the call and immediately blocked his number. Later, I heard Ryan tried to come to my parents' house but was firmly turned away by them, especially my dad, and was picked up by George. George then dumped him at a construction company run by a distant relative. Working there, under the watchful eyes of robust men, he likely won't bother us anymore. As for Emily, abandoned by Ryan, there were rumors of her living under a bridge, having nowhere else to go. But that's no longer my concern. I'll be home late today because of my part-time job.
Is that so? Thanks for letting me know.
No problem. Thanks for everything, Mom. Since then, John, perhaps having outgrown his rebellious phase, began to communicate more openly with me. This incident helped me realize John's feelings, and I've been making sure to express gratitude and apologies more directly. John responds in kind, bringing us closer. Without Ryan, we've become a closer family. I find myself grateful for that, and I share laughs with John. Our relationship with George remains strong.
He says he wants me as a successor, but what he just wants to see his dear daughter and grandson.
George continues to care for us. And when we invited him on a trip with my parents, he was delighted. I hope to maintain this good relationship with George. Years after the divorce, I received another letter from Ryan. I've been receiving them for a few years now, but I tear them up and throw it in the bin.
Another letter from him?
Yes, seems like it. He never gets tired, rather, he's persistent. He'd be much happier if he just gave up sooner. He has nothing left, so he's desperate to regain something. Let's just eat dinner. Today is the day John, having graduated university, starts working at the company as a successor. Having interned there during his student days, he's already recognized by everyone. I've heard rumors in the office about John being a promising newcomer. I'm proud of such a son. Here, I wanted to give this to Mom.
What?
John handed me a beautiful box containing an elegant pen. I saved up to buy it. I've come this far because of you, Mom. Hearing John say that almost brought me to tears early in the morning. Let's continue to live a peaceful and close-knit family life. And to ensure John keeps smiling, I'll do whatever I can. Being careful not to interfere too much, like someone we know.